Magnetize a gear cube. When I got that comment a few months back, I thought, that's a great idea. But then I realized, would it even be possible? On the surface, the gear cube looks incredibly complicated. You do a single turn, and you just have so many different pieces moving in all different directions. But in reality, the gear cube is actually a very similar puzzle to the 3x3. They have the exact same types of pieces, centers, corners, and edges, and believe it or not, the inner mechanism is actually identical on these two puzzles. The only real difference is that the edge pieces on the gear cube can spin. And also, a gear cube would actually be a very useful puzzle to have magnetized. For one thing, it's possible to do a turn like this that looks complete, but actually isn't. And even once you have done a complete turn, sometimes it doesn't look like it because these edge pieces are all spun around. So it'd be very nice to have that quick tactile feedback from the magnets to know that this is a valid position, whereas this is not, without even having to look at the puzzle. So then, why not just glue some magnets in there and have yourself a great speed cube? Well, let's just say there's a reason that no one has ever done this before, and that's because it's not nearly that simple. Now it is about that easy on a 3x3, but if you take a look at where the magnets actually are, you have a pair attracting each edge to each corner, and then look at the same spot on a gear cube, there's no way you're going to fit a magnet in such weird shaped pieces. And even if you could, it wouldn't work because, again, the edge pieces can spin. So clearly we're going to have to take a much different approach to magnetize our gear cube. If we can't fit the magnets on the outside of the pieces, then we're going to have to dig into the inside to find a place for them. Luckily, this gear cube does come apart pretty easily. You just pry off one of the center pieces, and there's a screw underneath that you can unscrew to get everything apart. And there we go. Now we can pop this layer off and take a peek inside. Now, if you know anything about magnetizing puzzles, you will be simultaneously relieved to find that there's a lot of extra space inside, but also kind of terrified because there doesn't seem to be anywhere to glue a pair of magnets. Now, traditionally, we'd always have pairs of magnets attracting the corners to the edges. Again, it doesn't matter too much if we can't put them on the outside of the puzzle. It works just as well if we can put them on the inside. But then even if you look on the inside of the puzzle, what you really want is a flat surface right where the pieces meet, so you can glue a magnet on one side and a magnet on the other side. But if you take a look at these two pieces, there just isn't anything flat whatsoever. So option one would be to precariously put the magnets vertically right here, one on each piece, but it'd be basically impossible to get the magnets to stay in exactly the right spot. Even super glue would not be strong enough. So then option two would be to glue the magnets in horizontally like this. It'd be very easy to glue a magnet right on top of the surface of the corner right there. And then what you'd actually do is drill a hole into this wing of the edge piece and then embed the magnet inside of it. That way the two magnets would be right on top of each other on the edge and the corner. But even though it'd be easier to hold the magnets in place, it would still be very precise and would require a lot of work. This is something I've only ever seen on mass-produced puzzles like Scubes rather than handmade puzzles. So then option three would be to just ditch the concept of corner edge magnets entirely. In fact, in this case, I think a better idea might actually be edge to center magnets. If you think about it, there's actually the exact same number of places on a cube where an edge touches a center compared to edges touching corners. That means we can do this with the exact same number of magnets, 48. There really isn't any reason not to have edge to center magnets. The only reason that it's typically edge to corner is because the corners tend to have more room inside. It wouldn't actually change anything to have the magnets in the centers instead. So then the question is, why do I think it would be easier to put them on the centers in this case? Well, if you look at it, they have this nice big flat surface, which would actually make it very easy to arrange the magnets vertically like this. Well, it'd be easy on one side at least. You could just glue the magnet straight to the center. But on the other side, it's still not completely obvious how you'd attach the magnet vertically to that edge. So, as I've been doing in a lot of recent videos, I turned to 3D printing. As you can see, I designed and printed this piece right here that has holes on either side that perfectly fit two little magnets. And what I can do is glue this piece right onto the bottom of the edge like this. It doesn't interfere with the mechanism at all. And what this does is position a magnet on either side in exactly the right spot to line up with the magnet that we glue onto the centerpiece. As you can see, there's just enough of a gap there to fit the magnet and a little bit of room to slide past. In fact, let me glue these two pieces together real quick and show you. And here we have the 3D printed part glued onto the edge piece, as well as one of 4 magnets glued onto this corner piece. As you can see, when they slide past each other, the magnets line up perfectly and attract to each other, but without quite touching. So yeah, this is exactly what we need to magnetize the gear cube. I'm actually really happy I came up with this. I literally don't think you could have made a more elegant solution. Now, I think you guys have seen enough 3D printing time lapses recently, so I just went ahead and printed out 12 of these off camera, which are very satisfying to break off of here. And there we go. So we can go ahead and stick some magnets into all of them, glue those onto all the edges, and glue some more magnets onto all the centers, and then we have ourselves a magnetic gear cube. So let's go ahead and start the time lapse. And here we have both halves of the cube, just like before, except now magnetized. I just wanted to stop here and appreciate how cool the magnets look. Not only the ones facing you, but also way down inside of there. You just have such perfect symmetry. It looks so cool. I haven't tried turning it yet, but I'm very optimistic that my plan will work out exactly like I wanted. So let's go ahead and get this screw back in here and screw it back together. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and get that center cap back on and then take a look at our new magnetic gear cube. Of course, on the outside, it looks exactly the same as it did before. That's to be expected. But when we go ahead and try and turn it, I definitely feel a little bit of resistance right there, like it's holding us into place. And then we can break away from it. No magnetic click at all right there because that's not a real turn. And then a nice snap into place on the next position. That's actually a fairly strong magnetic click. As you can see, it's very easy to just do flick turns like this and have it line up perfectly every time. There's a couple of reasons for that. For one, I think the magnets are actually physically closer together than they would be on a normal cube because there aren't a bunch of layers of plastic in between them. They're basically just floating right next to each other. And two, because the gear cube basically forces you to turn 2 layers at the same time, that means you're having 8 pairs of magnets engage at every turn rather than just 4 of them. But nevertheless, I think you can get away with having pretty strong magnets on a gear cube. It's such a big, clunky puzzle to begin with. They kind of need to be strong to be able to feel them over all the other mechanical stuff going on. And also, it's not like a harsh, precise magnetic click like you get on some 3x3s. It's more of just a soft, general area of magnetism, which feels really nice. It kind of feels like it's guiding you into place. Just a really good setup for this cube. Needless to say, I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. I wouldn't change a thing if I did it again, and I think that magnets in a gear cube are legitimately more useful than people might think. I'm surprised I haven't seen anyone else try it before. But I guess we can't end the video without at least trying out a quick solve. I'll admit, I haven't solved the gear cube for probably over a year at this point, so we'll see how this goes. Let's go ahead and try and get our corners together first. So we do that, and that, and that. I guess we can get some of our centers and edges in the correct spot by doing this a few times. So there we go, these ones are all correct. And then maybe we can just alternate moves on these other layers until the rest of everything solves itself. Like that, and like that. Okay, I think I managed to put everything in the right spot. So we just gotta turn it a bunch of times on each axis like this until everything gets kind of lined up. There we go, and the final one here. Okay, now everything is in the right spot, and it's cubic, and this is actually a weird case that you can only get on the QiYi Gear Cube. It doesn't happen on the original Meffert's Gear Cube because they have different numbers of teeth on the corners, so you can get a bit of different behavior. But the way to solve this is to just alternate moves like this a few times, like that, and then there we go, the gear cube is now solved. And I guess I probably take magnets for granted nowadays because I almost didn't notice them during that solve, but the couple of times that they did catch my attention, it was always super pleasant. Like, oh hey, I'm glad the cube clicked into place there to let me know I was done turning. So yeah, overall a quick little mod that seems seriously underrated now that I've done it. But I hope you all enjoyed the video because that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys next time.